Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the DOE Emerging Tech Studio Venture Summit. We're so excited to welcome you to today's events as we debut 6 teams that have spent the last 16 weeks focused on supporting the DOE mission to commercialize lab technology. My name is Felipe Rangel. I'm a senior analyst at FedTech and an acting project manager for the DOE Emerging Tech Studio. I'll be your host throughout today's session. As we look at today's agenda, we'll soon welcome our keynote speakers from the Department of Energy, Jaleel Hudson of the National Nuclear Security Administration, and Victor Kane of the Office of Technology Transitions. We'll then turn it over to FedTech Director Tom Martin, who will moderate a compelling fireside chat with the leaders of one of our greatest success stories, BioVend. We'll then dive into what you all came for, the pitches. 6 teams will pitch to a panel of 5 expert judges. Each team will have 10 minutes to pitch, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A with the judges. To finish out the day, we'll announce the winners, hear from the winning teams, and share some brief closing remarks before closing out today's session. Before we fully dive in, we want to take a moment to emphatically thank our sponsors from the DOE National Nuclear Security Administration and the DOE Office of Technology Transitions, without whom this program would simply not be possible. A massive thank you as well to our participating DOE labs, each of which worked with our teams to identify cutting-edge technologies ripe for commercialization. We can't thank you enough for doing your part to advance deep tech entrepreneurship. Here at FedTech, we believe that entrepreneurship is a catalyst for innovation and the driving force to ensure that the United States can strengthen its competitive edge. Throughout the Startup Studio, we seek to bring in new voices to shape the innovation landscape and ensure that scientific discoveries can achieve their maximum public return. Because when these technologies succeed, we all succeed. And that is no more evident than in today's launch of the following teams. I'm very proud to introduce Electron Forge Industrials, Upcycling Plus, Neutronics Technologies, Small Energy, Trace DTX, and Wearable Dose. Our 6 DOE Emerging Tech Studio graduating teams over the course of the last 16 weeks have dedicated hundreds of hours conducting market research, speaking with potential customers, and working closely with DOE inventors and FedTech advisors to build to where they are today. The teams will be competing for a prize package sponsored by FedTech and WilmerHale, a leading full-service international law firm that has already generously provided incorporation guidance to all of our teams. If you're new to our Startup Studio model, allow me to explain what the entrepreneurs you'll hear from today have been up to for the past 16 weeks. We started with Breakthrough Energy that was sourced from the DOE National Laboratories. From there, we paired technology with entrepreneurially minded leaders and guided these entrepreneurs through a 2-phase process. In phase 1, entrepreneurs spent time researching potential markets for their technology, refining their use cases, and establishing a compelling value proposition. In phase 2, entrepreneurs focused on all aspects of preparing to license their technology and launch their companies. They spent numerous hours with FedTech advisors and prepared them for life after the studio, where they'll endeavor to create successful companies based on these cutting-edge technologies. The teams pitching here today will leave today's session as alumni and will enter into a 3-month low-intensive alumni support program, during which FedTech will afford them additional time with FedTech advisors and technology experts. Since our inception in 2015, FedTech has developed a proven track record of advancing deep technology. We've launched more than 85 companies, built more than 200 teams around federal IP, and we're proud that our alumni have raised nearly $1 billion from private investors. Through our valued partnership with the DOE's National Nuclear Security Administration and Office of Technology Transitions, we've worked with 35 technologies, which has resulted in 17 active companies today, with certainly more to follow after today's events. In a little bit, we'll hear from one of our alumni companies, BioVend. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome our first keynote speaker, Jaleel Hudson. Jaleel is the Technology and Partnerships Officer for the Chief Science and Technology Office within the National Nuclear Security Administration defense programs. In this role, Jaleel is responsible for the oversight of technology transfer partnerships and collaborations, research security and foreign engagements at the NNSA, labs, plants, and sites. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jaleel. Over to you.
Thank you, Felipe. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Jaleel Hudson, and I'm the Technology and Partnership Officer for the Chief Science and Technology Office and Defense Programs of the National Nuclear Security Administration. It is my pleasure to be here with you as we highlight the teams with the following technologies participating in this cohort of DOE Emerging Tech Studio. The technologies such as nuclear detection devices, fentanyl detection devices, heat exchangers, real-time radiology dosimeter, 3D printed concrete, and plastic recycling. I would like to thank Victor and his team from OTT and FedTech for joining me in this partnership. I would also like to thank the laboratory staff who participated in this program. Without the cutting-edge technologies and access to their expertise, none of this is possible. So NNSA, who are we? Led by the Administrator Jill Harubi, the National Nuclear Security Administration is the arm of the Department of Energy responsible to maintain our nation's nuclear stockpile, non-proliferation, counterterrorism and counterproliferation, and powering the Navy. The Chief Science and Technology Office has a mission that's threefold. One, to use technical expertise, including our in-house science council, to evaluate and provide input to technical issues affecting the nuclear stockpile, research and development, and infrastructure. Two, to understand how technology generated at the national laboratories, plants, and sites can be commercialized to strengthen the nation's economy. And three, to facilitate a pathway for the future workforce through academic programs and community support. That second part of our mission is why we're here. It is technology transfer. My office is charged with the oversight and providing programs to enable technology transfer at the NNSA labs, plants, and sites, also known as the Nuclear Security Enterprise. On any given year, the 17 labs from the Department of Energy are responsible for roughly half of the licenses and agreements executed by the federal government with industry. The 3 labs from the NNSA are responsible for roughly a third to half of those of the DOE number. Notable technologies from NNSA are wavefront sensoring technology, which was developed by Sandia National Laboratories. It's the key component in the development of LASIK eye surgery. Then we have Dyna 3D modeling code developed at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. It was used to analyze the structure of bombs and has been used by automakers to make and to meet safety regulations in our automobiles. And we have computational fluid dynamic technology and the library developed by it. And that was developed at Los Alamos National Laboratories. It was used for manufacturers to optimize diaper absorption. And as a parent of a young one, I can tell you, this is near and dear to me. So those are some of the success stories that we've had here at NNSA. And we have many more that you can find on the NNSA website, energy.gov/NNSA Tech Transfer. Since 2009, we have partnered with FedTech to provide startup studio to entrepreneurs looking to build companies around DOE and NNSA technologies. In this time, we've had over 30 technologies participate in this program with 15 teams created that are active and incorporated companies, and 11 of those securing the licenses from the labs. And as you heard earlier, hopefully more. And so you're going to hear from our latest example of a huge success, BioVine, a company who used a rapid and portable system for microbial identification technology from one of our physics laboratories. And they're set to receive $1 million California Energy Commission grant. Once again, thank you for having me here. I want to congratulate the teams for completing this journey. So to Electron Force Industrials, Upcycling Plus, Trace DTX, Wearable Dose, Neutronic Technologies, Samal Energies, and Spotlighting ValView, I look forward to seeing how you all disrupt industry with your innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaleel. It is my pleasure to now introduce our second keynote speaker, Victor Kane. Victor Kane serves as the Deputy Director for Commercialization Programs, where he and the Commercialization Programs team work with U.S. Department of Energy program offices and national laboratories to develop and manage external funding program and activities. The team is responsible for implementing the Technology Commercialization Fund, otherwise known as TCF, Energy I-Corps, Energy Program for Innovation Clusters, also known as EPIC, and other technology-agnostic programs seeking to bring impactful energy technologies to market. Thank you so much for making the time for us, Victor. Over to you.
All right. Thank you for the introduction, Felipe, and hello to everybody. I'm Victor Kane, and I serve as the Deputy Director for Commercialization Programs here at DOE's Office of Technology Transitions. I'm excited to be here with all of you to highlight and celebrate our Emerging Tech Studios teams and the work they've done to help us advance critical technologies. This cohort of teams are just the latest successes in what has been a multi-year effort as we've developed this program. Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to Carolina Valasis, Catherine Harshani, and Matt O'Brien from my team, who've managed our OTT support for the program. And I also want to have a big thanks to the NNSA team for their partnership and leadership in this effort, especially Jaleel Hudson, who you just heard from, who's been a visionary in this partnership from the beginning. And of course, I want to thank our friends at FedTech and our mentors who have worked with the teams. You all have certainly guided this program to new heights. The DOE Emerging Tech Studio exists to support our efforts moving our laboratory technologies to the commercial world, and the agency of our mission couldn't be greater. So the next slide, I don't know if you have my slides, but maybe I'll just talk a little bit about OTT's mission. So OTT has the mission to drive the private sector uptake of clean energy technologies and ensure the innovations effectively travel through research, development, demonstration, and deployment, or the RD-D&D continuum, as we like to call it. Our programs catalyze the innovation ecosystem, especially when commercialization risks are high. And at OTT, we try to do it all. We are market analyzers, industry connectors, program designers and managers, tech transfer champions, and workforce developers, and more. And we've seen some great results from our investments in the DOE Emerging Tech Studios. Through this partnership, we've seen the creation of more than 20 new ventures powered by NNSA and DOE technologies from 12 different national lab plants and sites. Next slide. So today we're celebrating the teams from the current Emerging Tech Studio cohort, including the 3 using OTT selected technologies. One team is exploring the commercial potential for sensor systems that aim to reduce human error when monitoring and inspecting industrial plant valves. Another team is examining a new additive manufacturing process. This technique aims to improve the speed, efficiency, and quality of 3D printed concrete. And finally, a team took on a novel process for plastics recycling. This new process could use a chemical reaction to upcycle certain types of plastics and repurpose them for higher value compounds, such as sustainable aviation fuels and other uses. So just imagine the emission goals we could reach and the commercial opportunities we could create if even just these 3 technologies are commercialized in scale. That's the good work that our Emerging Tech Studio teams have been involved in over the past few months. So with that, I want to thank all our teams and congratulate you for your success now and the success we know you'll have going forward. We know how challenging and intensive this process may have been at times, but I know that you've not only leveled up your own skills in this journey, but you've also helped us at DOE move forward with our tech transfer goals. And to the aspiring entrepreneurs that are hopefully listening as well, I hope you watch these pitches from the teams today and really think about their experiences. And I hope you absorb the message from the FedTech team of how you can play a role here in the future, because we really do need your help. We can't reach our climate and energy goals alone. We need the creators, the risk takers, and the innovators like you to join us in this effort. So if you're interested in playing a part in commercializing technologies critical to the nation, I encourage you to learn more about the Emerging Tech Studios and to apply. And I also encourage you to visit OTT's and other DOE tech offices' websites and sign up to be notified about future funding opportunities, because there's a lot of support for groups like you. And with that, thank you very much. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Victor. And thank you, Jaleel, for your compelling words. I'm now glad to walk us into our next part of the programming where FedTech Director Tom Martin will host a fireside chat with our Rockstar alumni team, BioVend. Over to you, Tom.
Great, thank you, Felipe, and welcome everyone. First off, I want to say a big thanks to Carolina, to Matt, to Catherine, to Jaleel, and to you, Victor. It is just a real pleasure to work with your team in bringing these entrepreneurs and the technologies from your labs to market. So my name is Tom Martin, and I lead about half of the programs at FedTech. And I've been with FedTech for about 2 years and just had a great run of helping build these new entrepreneurial teams and help scaling young new startups. I have 25 years in innovation, entrepreneurship, and strategy, and have had a couple of successful exits myself. But with that, I would like to invite Mark, Abehi, and Yuri from BioVend to be spotlighted. And I'd love to spend a few minutes having a conversation with them. The real goal here is to hear their story. Entrepreneurism is tough. It's challenging. It takes a lot of grit and a lot of passion. And this team has really demonstrated that. As part of the 2021 program, we're 2 years in, and so I'm really excited to have this 10 minutes with you today. So first of all, welcome. And I'd love to start off maybe with just a quick introduction by each of you. We can start with Mark, then go to Abehi, and then Yuri, and then we'll have a conversation about BioVend. So
excellent.
Over to you,
Thanks.
Mark.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me all right?
Perfect.
Hey, all right. I'm Mark Teagle. I'm the CFO over here at BioVend. We'd love to come back and talk to FedTech, and especially on days like this when it's so exciting to hear all of the new technology that's going to be brought out into the world. You'll hear more about us in a little bit, but we were there a couple years ago, and boy, it's been an amazing run. So we'll hand it over to Abehi.
Hi, thanks Thomas for the intro, and thanks FedTech and the organizers for inviting us back to have this conversation. I'm really excited to speak to you all. My name is Abehi Yoha, and I'm one of the co-founders. I joined the team through the startup studio, as we'll talk about some more. And my background is in economics. So I have a PhD in economics, and I also teach entrepreneurship at Harvard Business School. And I'm also a co-founder at BioVend. So wearing a lot of hats, doing a lot of stuff, and definitely doing things in practice is very different from teaching stuff. So it's been an exciting journey.
Great.
Yuri.
Oh, my name is Yuri. Also glad to be here. It's always fun to come back to FedTech and take part in these events. I am also one of the co-founders of BioVend. I am also the CSO, so I'm the scientist of the bunch. And I deal with all scientific stuff as it relates to our technology. So yeah, excited to talk to everybody more about our tech.
Thanks.
I'm having a little technology.
Oh, you're back. There you are. How you doing?
Yeah, sorry, my internet's unstable all of a sudden. Well, hey, thank you so much, Yuri, Abehi, and Mark. So let's have a little bit of an overview of BioVend. Jaleel mentioned a little bit about your microbial detection system, but I'd love to learn just a little bit more.
Yeah, Yuri's going to walk you right through it. Go for it, Yuri.
All righty. Yes. So yeah, so our basically aim of BioVend, right, of our company is to make detection of microbes easy, make it portable, and make it quick, right? So we basically want to enable customers to be able to quickly detect microbes within 30 minutes, make it easy for them, and make it so that they can do it in the field, out wherever they want to go, right? So our device is basically a portable microbe detection device that can tell you what microbes are in whatever sample you're testing in about 30 minutes. So our initial aim here and the initial problem that we're trying to solve is in the oil and gas industry, right? Obviously with microbe detection, there's a lot of opportunities, but we decided to kind of zone in on that oil and gas industry and work to detect microbes that cause corrosion, right? So there's a bunch of microbes that live in oil and gas pipelines and storage tanks that interact with the metals and cause corrosions of these pipelines and tanks. And obviously you don't want that, right? Because it can lead to leaks. It's an expensive problem. So we're trying to enable these pipeline technicians to help them detect what kind of microbes are causing these issues and help them to effectively mitigate this corrosion.
Great, thank you. And congratulations on your recent California Energy Commission grant award. Pretty sizable award, as Jalil had mentioned a little bit earlier, so well done. And so I'd love to ask Abehi, how do you envision this grant impacting your startup's development over the next year?
That's a fantastic question. I think there are a lot of things that are already underway. So for example, we had our very first site visit with an alpha partner, getting samples, actual samples from a facility, and we're taking those to the lab, and we're actually in the process of assay development. So we need to develop assays to target the specific microbes that they are concerned about. And so with this grant, we've been able to hire a research scientist who works full-time in the lab on the assay development, obviously supervised by Yuri, our CSO. And we've also been able to cross a bunch of milestones. So solidifying our relationship with alpha partners, working on improving the device itself to make sure that it's not just the technology, but actually a product, so increasing the technology readiness level. And so over the next, it's going to be an exciting year ahead, working with these samples. Something that's fun is that, like, a lot of, if you think about oil and gas, like the samples aren't the nice clean ones, you know, that you have from like your COVID test, right? They have like all sorts of gunk in there. You have oil, you have solids. And so figuring out how to make sure that our process will work on the actual types of samples they're going to be using, rather than just some like nice, clean, pretty clear water, is a big part of what we're working on right now in the lab. So it's a great time, and the grant has gone a long way towards basically taking us from a technology to a product.
Well, that's fantastic. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you secured the funding, and turning that as some advice also. Any recommendations that you have for folks raising capital for technology development and maturation, getting through that kind of valley of death. Let's over to you.
Yeah, Abehi, that will be for you.
Okay. So actually, it's a fun story. So we applied for a lot of stuff. So first lesson there is just go seeking out for opportunities and apply for any ones you qualify for. But a key learning in this story as well is about the importance of actually like understanding what the funder is looking for. And so something that was interesting about our situation was that the grant had actually already closed by the time we found out about it. So the grant application period had closed. They had advertised two grants at the time, and then we had found out about it, like the grant period closed like shortly after we had formed ourselves as a company. So, it wasn't really something that was even on our radar at all. So I found out about the grant on a Google search, and then found out that it had closed, but I didn't looked on the website and saw that they post the results of the applications, and found out that they actually hadn't received any applications at the time for the grant. And so one thing that was important for us was getting more information. So we requested more information about the grant, what they had been looking for, and basically what the challenges they really were interested in solving were. And we did a lot of background research on actually asking like the commission itself for like previous grants to like kind of understand like how to write a good proposal, and the kinds of elements that they really care about. So most grant funders will have like these information sessions about any opportunity that you've posted for, and it's a good opportunity to ask questions, to do basically participate in Q&A, ask for any clarification. And so when they eventually, because we did all that groundwork, when they eventually reposted and re-advertised the grant, we were basically able to craft like a proposal that highlighted our strengths and really linked them to the things that they were interested in solving, and why they would be interested in our technology at the time. And when we reapplied, there were multiple other applicants this time, because they really went around trying to find people who, increasing their outreach, trying to find people who would apply for this opportunity, and we won out. So that was like a very interesting process, but really talking with the grant funders to understand their process and also understand what they're looking for is really key, rather than just like filling out an application and just submitting it to them. I think those conversations beforehand were essential in helping us understand how to craft a good proposal for the grant funders.
Great, well, thank you. And Mark, what roles do you think that the federal agencies can play from that perspective, like really the added support around the funding and application process? Any
Yeah,
thoughts there?
there's a lot of agencies that do it really well, right? I mean, there's always a contact that you can reach out to. They always have these really detailed packages you can get as you're looking at your technology. But to really find that strong product market fit, which is what really happened here. I've been in a handful of startups from ones right at the beginning to the middle to the brutal ends. I have never seen a user reach out and say, yeah, no, I know it doesn't work yet, but boy, if you could make it work, that's worth it to us. And if there's agencies out there that can make that connection, that when companies have these technologies and they say, hey, you know what, that's exactly what we're looking for. Finding a way to make those connections. And I think FedTech does a really good job of that because they teach us to make those phone calls, do all of that networking, do all of that research so that when we come to an agency and we say, hey, this is what it can do, we think this is how it applies. What we really get the benefit from is agencies that say, hey, you know what? That one right there. What if we tweak it this here? Would that work? I don't think they're allowed to do that, but boy, when you can actually have a conversation with somebody, with a funder who says, yeah, that's the right product market fit, it's tremendously successful. So, and that's what we had here was there was a product market fit that the team looked at and did a tremendous amount of research on and wrote Abehi and Joe, they wrote a heck of a proposal. It was spot on. It answered every question. It anticipated every potential. And really the funder had no choice but be like, yeah, these are the folks right here. The numbers were so high, the score was so strong. But also having the access to talk to our alpha partners and to work with other experts in the field to really bring the technology in with the current expertise. Having agencies that are willing to do that was tremendously beneficial.
Awesome. And Abehi, with your Harvard background and academic work, along with being an entrepreneur, how do you see the industry and the market evolving over the next couple of years? And what opportunities do you see for new startups? Is there any key thoughts you had there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because if you ask the same 10 economists the same question, you're going to get 10 different answers. So, but
the great thing about
that's really something that's obviously really interesting. And I think everybody's aware of the funding landscape for startups right now is kind of rocky relative to where it was just even 2 years ago, right? So in terms of VC capital, the funding landscape is much tighter than it was before. And that's because, interest rates have risen so high. And so there are other places that investors can park their money now rather than take on the risk of investing in startups. But the good thing about that is that there was a lot of I would say careless money floating around, people investing in all sorts of things that weren't actually value creating. So that now, if you have something that's actually groundbreaking, actually creating value, and actually can significantly change how people operate in different aspects of industry, whether it is industry or consumer-focused, B2B, B2C, you can really stand out. And people aren't just looking for flashy slide decks anymore. They're really looking for, substance and value creation. And I think that's something that we've learned through FedTech of understanding actually how can we add value, because as Yuri had mentioned when we started initially, we talked to a lot of people across multiple different industries, right? COVID was the first thing that popped up around the time. It's oh, you're in microbial detection, go to COVID. But then we were really talking about how can we create value for the most people in a less competitive space. And so I think it will shape entrepreneurs into really understanding how to convey and understand their value proposition. But there is a lot more smart money in the investment space now. So they are really interested in not just giving money to founders, but also making sure that founders, they can support founders in delivering a return on that investment. So a lot of the money that's out there now, especially in like the VC space, is more considerate and like focused on value creation rather than just raising the next round with a higher valuation. So that's something that's definitely changed over the last 2-3 years, and I think it's an exciting development.
Great, well, thank you. And speaking of trends, Mark, what are you watching? What are you following these days? That could have
I'm getting eaten up by my background here. AI, like LLM and AI, and it's not just ChatGPT and how you can integrate it into your product. It's actually, as an entrepreneur, how can we leverage it, right? Having ChatGPT laying out the objectives for your marketing plan, having it lay out a summary of what it is that you do, what is your real customer, who's your ideal customer, what's like markets that are potentials, going in there and typing in what is a great market for microbial detection, handheld, portable, battery powered, and man, you can lose days in there. But when you get that really solid result, when you do the editing, when you start really thinking about it, having that at your fingertips as an entrepreneur is amazing. I mean, it's for me, I am old enough. I was there when the internet started, and when you could just finally look up whatever you needed to on the internet instead of having to go to the library, it changed your life. And now you've got your assistant right there. You can ask any question you want. My fiance, I don't have to ask her science questions anymore because she wouldn't tell me anyway. So I just ask ChatGPT. It's great. But I do think that we're at a pivot point here, and that either you are going to leverage that AI capability, that interaction, or you can get run over by it. So we are working every day to integrate the best parts of it to ensure that we produce the best product, the best offering, the best product market fit, so that our customers can accomplish what they need to accomplish at a strong rate, at a value that we provide. Awesome.
And kind of keeping that eye on the future, Yuri, are there specific areas in your industry that you're thinking are right for disruption? You found this area of petroleum gas. Where else? What else do you think is right for disruption or innovation?
Yes, so there's a lot of areas within the kind of the microbe detection space that are, opportunities. And one of the things that was kind of challenging for us in the beginning, right, is that, like Mark said, you type into ChatGPT, what opportunities are there, and it gives you a list of 20 different opportunities, 20 different markets. So the customer research and the customer discovery process we went through with FedTech really helped us kind of make sense of what would be a good fit. Because there's a lot of markets where we would be a good fit, but that are either really active, very competitive, very saturated, right? So identifying those kind of niche markets where there's not a lot of activity, there's not as much innovation, and there's kind of just room for a small company like us to kind of build up steam and really get a product going is kind of an ideal space for us to operate, right? So obviously oil and gas has been perfect for us in that respect. There's other smaller markets that we've been looking at, specifically kind of the animal testing market has been on the front of our mind. And then there's additional smaller markets we've looked into, such as cosmetics testing, stuff that, it's not necessarily obvious when you think about microbial testing. So there's plenty of space for us to expand here.
That was great, Yuri. You answered the question without giving away the entire plan. I appreciate that very much. We're still in a competitive space. Good job, buddy.
Question didn't work.
Yes, the scientist, man.
I was holding the breath there. So, Abehi, looking back, what are some of the important lessons you've learned, in your entrepreneurial journey? You'd mentioned earlier that teaching it and doing it is quite different. What are some of those key things the lessons you've learned?
I think that's a great question. I think one thing is, like, talking to people is so essential. Like, it's something that, so as I guess, should I call myself a millennial? As a millennial, I grew up with the internet, right? And you want to Google search. I really, for example, I hate making phone calls. I prefer to just if there's a phone number and an email, I'd rather send an email than do a phone call. But actually talking to people, you get so much more information and you learn so much more that you didn't know. Like, for example, oil and gas was not at the front of our mind at all as a potential application. And I think the way it happened actually started with Yuri was talking to some potential customer in a completely different area. And they were like, this doesn't really solve our problem, but have you thought about corrosion in oil and gas. And then we started talking to more people in the oil and gas sector, and that's kind of how everything snowballed. But those are things you don't get out of just like an email. Talking to people is a key part of our value creation. But I think the other part is really testing hypotheses. So like when you think something might work, or you think this might be a good idea to do, like find out how quickly and cheaply you can test that hypothesis very quickly so you can understand whether or not it's going to work. So for example, we don't really think of customer discovery as a test, but it is kind of a test. If you think my product is perfect for the animal health market, go talk to a veterinarian. But then also other things like, how can we get a lab set up? Well, one way you could do it is get $5 million and build a lab and, furnish it with all the, the equipment and everything you might possibly need in the world. But another thing is you can go say, well, how are other startups, other young companies like doing their labs? Talk to alumni, talk to other people. And then you find out, oh, wait, there are co-working lab spaces that you can apply to that can give you substantial support for a very subsidized price of what it would take to create your own lab. So things like that, understanding how you can efficiently like validate some of your thoughts, and don't always go for, oh, I want to do like the biggest thing possible. Think, how can I essentially iteratively build towards creating value here? And really, the quicker you're able to test hypotheses and validate or throw them away is basically the most important thing I've learned in the process of building this company. And you won't know everything, so every day is a learning process. You're going to make mistakes, but as long as you learn from them, it's not an issue.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, the power of conversation is pretty amazing. So last question, I'm going to turn this over to Yuri. As you look, what's been your biggest achievement, or what's that point of pride? I always like to say, like, what's that noteworthy thing that I say on a Saturday night, like what I do? Like, looking back, what's been your biggest achievement?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because there's been a lot of achievements. It's also been a lot of bad moments and failures. But I mean, like Abay said, you got to learn from that and move on. As far as achievement goes, right, I think really getting that funding was kind of one of the major turning points for a company where, we got validation from these funding agencies that, yes, we believe in your company and your product. And it really allowed us to, take our company to the next level, right? And then more recently, right, hiring a full-time scientist has been a major achievement for us to, be able to provide somebody with employment and bring them into the company and grow our team, basically. So those have been like two major milestones for us as a company that really validated that we're on the right track here.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Abehi, Mark, Yuri. It's so good to see you. And on behalf of the FedTech team, we're always here for you to help in any way we can. And I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of DOE that they're there also. So wish you the best of luck, and so happy for your incredible journey, and look forward to seeing amazing things happening in the coming years.
Thanks so much. Y'all are great. Appreciate it. Good luck today, everybody. Do good pitches.
Thank you. It was so fun being here again.
Felipe, over to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Tom and BioVin, for that wonderful discussion. It's always great to hear of our alumni succeeding. And now I'm glad to welcome us to the moment that we've all been waiting for, the startup pitches. But before we dive in, let's take a moment to get to know the judges who will be listening in and picking our winning teams. First off, we have Jordan Clancy of the New Mexico Vintage Fund. Next, we have Carrie Freeman of Second Muse, Deborah Hemingway of Ekphora Capital, Manbir Singh of the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, and last but never least, Rick Stockberger of Bright Energy Innovators. We are incredibly fortunate to have such an impressive group of judges, and it's also a testament to the importance this program holds at the NNSA and OTT. The judges today will be scoring the teams according to the following criteria. Each team will need to show a convincing understanding of their core market problem, propose a compelling value proposition, identify their markets of opportunity, explain their competitive advantage, present a sound business model and a good roadmap for future growth. No pressure, teams. Judges will input their scores live, and we'll announce our winners live as well. Each team will have 10 minutes to present their pitch, and if a team exceeds their slot, they will eat into their allotted Q&A time. Once the teams have concluded their Q&A with the judges, we'll offer 1 minute for the judges to finalize their scores before introducing the next team. We kindly ask that all judges fill in the score sheet tab with your assigned name on it. And now, on to the pitches. First up, we'll hear from Electron Forge Industrials. Over to you, team.
Great. And am I sharing my screen here? I'm currently disabled.
Not yet, Henry. Are you able to share your screen?
It says disabled while another participant is sharing. So
okay, sure. Yep, absolutely. There you go. Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Henry.
So just confirm we're all seeing everything right now, right? We're good? Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and welcome to this presentation from Electron Forge. I'm Henry Meyer, and I'm here to talk with you about electron gun technology. There's been an innovation, and it has unlocked some pretty fundamental capabilities. I'll tell you, how we got here and what we intend to accomplish and why this matters to leaders of major U.S. industries. But before I do, I'm just going to introduce a concept we've found valuable, lies to children.
Concept of lies to children. The idea that on the path to explaining something complicated, you start off with a little lie, a useful oversimplification that makes it easier to grasp a concept. For example, as a kid you learn that the Earth is a sphere orbiting the Sun with planet buddies. But it's not actually a sphere, and the buddies are super different in size and not close to each other at all.
All right. So with that in mind, please stay with us at the high level. And should your minds dive deep into the technology, I'll be here for questions at the end of the presentation. So it is hard to add energy to various stages of the manufacturing and material treatment processes. Our technology adds high energy with precise controls to industrial processes. Electron guns exist in large scientific, industrial, and distributed industrial applications. What was large and stationary can now become small and modular, all while increasing the power output capacity. So what the lab invented is a piece of metal, basically a gun barrel that doesn't melt, a superconductor that performs where current state technology will melt at comparable duty factors. This means two things for the most high-powered electron guns the government can make. One, you can pull the devices out of liquid helium baths, and two, you can turn up the output 99% of intervals versus 2. Linear accelerators with this technology show improvements. Yes, it'll increase your efficiency by 50%, and it'll lower your OPEX by 30%. But more critically, this cooling approach reduces the size from a 3-story building to a compact and portable skid-mounted unit. Many capabilities have been indicated, right? It can harden and cure materials like concrete, asphalt, rubbers, and plastics. It can sterilize metals, plastics, and water, even remove dyes and pharmaceutical hazards from industrial runoff. And it can radiate, cross-link, and heat materials not only at the surface, but penetrating deep into the material. And all of these indications are now enabled with higher energies. So our customer discovery has shown several industries where this can make a big difference. Some of our favorites are, an asphalt Zamboni, pharma implant water treatment, and gantry-mounted 3D printing nozzles. And those are just a few of a lot more use cases that exist out there, both as substitutes and as novel exploitation of untapped opportunities. So you see how different combinations of these can lead to different specific use cases. To reiterate, we're offering exclusive access to defined use cases to our participating stakeholders and who EFI considers our customers. The fact is, though, that this is years away from commercialization. You need technical, materials, and operational advancements. You need shielding, power supply, and ruggedization. And you need OSHA. But once it is commercialized, this saves you time. This can increase your throughput. It extends operational windows, differentiates your offerings, and changes the labor dynamics of traditionally blue-collar work. All this to support businesses in their top and bottom line growth. And put simply, this technology can win you more RFPs. So I'm here today to tell you how an exclusive license to this technology becomes a business. How do you build from the current electron gun to an e-gun in a box, to an e-gun on a platform, and ultimately certify those platforms for use? Everything right of today is considered within the IP portfolio of EFI. We sell access to this technology to fund the requisite productization. Because of this, EFI is effectively taking on debt with our customers who will hold our outputs accountable. Selling future rights involves relationships with large conglomerates capable of ushering this technology into the real world. Sources will come from multiple participating stakeholders, each purchasing exclusive rights to use this technology in their defined application. So 6 companies at $2.5 million per provides the minimum amount of capital required to commercialize, around $15 million, with more participating stakeholders possible. With cash, we will build machines, many of them, as fast as we can, as many of them as we can. We intend to pay 2 government labs, 1 to build e-guns and 2 to test the materials. As well, we'll source production partners to manufacture, potentially for the pilot phase and certainly beyond for the commercialization phases. Additionally, there will be a small administrative budget where we will manage the progress and prepare for pilot and commercialization requirements, things like legal and UL listing. For an individual stakeholder, you are putting up capital in the near term to benefit in the long term. Capital comes in through a license option agreement that we're selling today and through multi-year services agreements for pilots. So this is how the business will progress over time, how the business makes money. Phase by phase, we go from our launch to productization to the pilot and commercial phases. And we've talked a little bit about launch and productization stages. So let's focus on pilot and commercial. For pilot phases, EFI owns the equipment and the responsibility to deliver for our partners in the field at pilot sites. For commercial phases, EFI transitions those responsibilities to our commercial partners, stepping back to license gear and know-how. The key difference between the pilot phase and the commercial phase is the operational responsibility and the transition from EFI's ownership to that of our partners. So today, EFI doesn't want investment unless it's from large players in our target verticals. We don't want government grants. We don't think that provides the right energy of activation. And we don't want speculative investors. We would rather partner with those who will wind up sanctioning and budgeting for pilots. We do want multinational companies looking to exclusively leverage a technology that will provide a state change advantage in advanced materials treatments. And we want investors helping those companies usher in these technologies across industries. So we have a specific set of goals to accomplish over the next few months. Help us get there. We have a team and a plan. Our team consists of 2 scientific leads and my co-founder and fellow Duke graduate, Humaira Mahi, herself a PhD with a shared passion for how this technology can decarbonize industry and secure resources. Our plan is to solidify vertical leaders such that we can solicit and evangelize our key participating stakeholders. And we need to build these guns. It's all talk unless we build these systems, fire them, and prove their advantage. So to anyone out there who wants to support us, take a picture of this slide. If you or someone you know can help us advance, get in touch. If you know movers and shakers in the verticals we're targeting, get our materials in their hands. I encourage all of you, seriously, take a picture and forward it to the biggest names you know in our space, and connect us with the partners required to bring this technology into the real world. So we are Electron Forge. Please reach out, and I look forward to taking your questions now. So I'm told we have 4 minutes for Q&A, and I would be hard pressed to think there aren't those of you out there who have questions about an electron gun.
I've got a question more about your business and financing model. Have you talked to organizations that would be committed to this collaborative commercialization model? Well, I'd say first that the amount of resources required is a product of how we can parse out those payments to national labs. This fits the bill for what it would cost over those years to get it done. When it comes to commercial partners who can potentially fund, we have found light interest. However, when targeting a commercial participant, a participating stakeholder, we realize that that specific niche needs its own business case, all the formal justification so an investor can invest. And we think that though there was thinking to focus and specify in any one of these, our challenge is really to find the leaders, these vertical leaders as we're calling them, to define exactly what that value center is for our participating stakeholders and secure their participation. So we've had light conversations with folks that are interested. Have we started selling, tickets to this technology in the future? Not yet.
All right, I'll jump in. I heard you speak a little bit about the value and the benefits to the customers, some about saving time and winning more grants and things like that. I was wondering if you had any quantification of the financial benefit of using this. Like, do you have a sense of how much money they will save, or any sense of quantitative statement on the financial benefit of that? So that's my first question. And my second question is, I'd like you to comment a little bit more about your MVP, like who's going to be your first customers and what's the minimum viable product that they would be able to use. Thank you.
Sure. And am I still sharing, or did I just cancel that out? Sorry about that.
It just left, Henry, but you can reshare.
Yes. Got it. So on the MVP front, these guns exist in labs. So as far as their ability to be built and fired, they're there. The novelty of this will be packing a multitude of innovations that we can get into that constitutes our IP portfolio into single systems. There's been a long tail of innovations catalyzed by this most recent one. So sticking all of them together is kind of what that MVP looks like. And in terms of the financial benefits of use, this is where you get into things like drivers and levers for each of these specific use cases. So if you're looking at a tire factory, this can unblock that electron gun from being your limiting reactant and how quickly you can produce systems. If you're looking at wastewater treatment facilities, you can boost the amount of water throughput. If you're looking at things in the construction pace, you're looking at time savings. You're also looking at RFP values in that
Let's say you're a gas utility that has to rip up the road in a city to fix gas lines. Well, now all of a sudden with this technology, you close 2 days earlier and that lane opens up on the street. That has material value in how likely you are to win RFPs. So to your point, Deborah, about how does this financial equation look for our customers? Well, it's nuanced and it's particular, but we feel that this technology does enable a number of those drivers, which then we can turn into levers for our specific customers.
All right. And that's the end of our Q&A. So thank you, judges, and thank you, Electron Forge Industrials, for taking the time today. So we'll give the judges about 30 seconds or so to finish up their tallying, and then we'll move on and introduce our next team. All right. So thank you, Electron Forge Industrials, again, for your wonderful pitch. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Upcycling Plus. I'll turn it now over to Jun and the Upcycling Plus team.
All right. Can anyone confirm that you can see the slides? All right. Give me 1 sec, and here we go. All right. Good afternoon, guys. Thanks you all for showing up for our pitch today. I'm Shun, and we are Upcycling Plus, and our goal is to transform plastic waste and fuel sustainability. The climate change has become a global crisis, and moving away from fossil fuel is a challenge for every industry. Transportation sector contributes to 19% of the global greenhouse gas emission, which makes it impossible to be neglected. And looking into the details, 34% of the greenhouse gas was contributed by the medium and heavy duty fleets, including semi-trucks, cargo ships, and flights. Even though the other 16.6% is a bigger share, there are some new clean technologies like batteries will be able to decarbonize them, but not for the heavy duty transportation. This is mainly due to the low energy density for the current technology right now, and that makes the long haul task super challenging. And to implementing those technologies into this sector requires extensive amount of advanced R&D work, as well as expensive and time-consuming setup for refueling and recharging infrastructure networks. Overall, for the next few decades, the alternative liquid fuels are still the key to decarbonizing heavy-duty transportation. However, there is a big supply deficiency compared to the demand. As you can see from this plot here, US consumes 60 billion gallons of fuels for this heavy transportation sector, but we only produce and consume less than 1.7 billion gallons, which is only 3% of the overall demand. With this huge market vacuum, there are many technologies that have been developed and brought to the market to try to fill in the deficiency. So here we listed 3 most well-known routes to make alternative fuels and compare them against this petroleum process based on 4 parameters: the end product cost, the CI scores, which is a metric for carbon intensity, and feedstock cost and capex. So biofuels, one of the biggest players in this market right now, reduces the carbon intensity from 89 to 10 to 50, but it experienced severe feedstock limitation issues, both in volume and cost, limiting the potential growth of biofuel market. And also the production cost of biofuel is double of the petroleum products. E-fuel, another emerging technology that has significantly low CI score equals to 0, but unit cost of this technology is still economically infeasible because, as you can see, the price is 5 times compared to the petroleum process. And the last one, the waste to fuel technology based on municipal solid waste or plastic, is also a good potential technology as it has low feedstock costs, relatively low CI scores, yet slightly high production cost. But moreover, the plastic to fuel can also have a significant market share because of feedstock volume. To give you one example, we consume around 10 million grocery bags every minute, and the fuels that can be generated allows a Boeing 747 to fly from London to Chicago, a 10-hour flight. And overall, we produce 200 million tons of polyolefin waste every year, and that can be transformed into 160 million tons of fuel, which we can use them to supplement 70% of the global aviation market or 50% of the marine shipping market, or 16% of semi-truck demand. But however, as we mentioned, even though the plastic fuel is a great potential, the traditional waste to fuel technology still experience high production cost issue. And this is where our technology comes into play. We offer cost-effective drop-in alternative fuels for heavy transportation fleets based on our innovative technology. We developed a strong intellectual property portfolio technology that can direct polymer chains into refined products using our ruler and scissor technologies, if you can see on the right image here. So you can imagine this long red curve represent a polymer that goes into our catalyst. Now our design catalyst measure and control the product length we want and cut into targeted hydrocarbons directly. As a result, the mixed polyolefin waste comes in, the refined products will be obtained directly. And we also obtained some proven products testing. The initial alpha test of our synthetic aviation fuel products meet the drop-in kerosene standard based on certified lab testing. And to distinguish our technology from the state-of-the-art pyrolysis technology that converts plastic to alternative fuels, we made a parallel comparison on the left scheme here. For general pyrolysis process, crude oil type of product will be obtained first after pyrolysis, and then it has to go through hydrotreating process, refinery process for product separation, and finally obtain the fuels. However, the nature of our process allows us for direct conversion from plastic to fuel in one single step. And this direct conversion reduces complexity of the operation, avoids mass losses during those post-reaction process, and enable higher mass yield for desired product. At the end, reduce the processing cost. And in order to study our unit cost, we did some calculations of a pilot plant that has a production capacity of 360,000 gallons per year. And the costs associated with construction, production, and operation are broken down here. In fact, through our extensive customer discoveries via FedTech, as well as NS5 Core, the unit cost of the alternative fuel is one of the main pain points those heavy transportation fleet have, if you imagine the volume that they're using. Our product cost will be as low as $1.14 per gallon. And in comparison to the established waste to fuel technology, we reduce the unit cost significantly from $5.5 per gallon. And when we operate it at this scale, we are seeing a 23% of internal rate of return when projected over a 10-year plant lifespan, based on the average selling price of $2.25 per gallon, which is the wholesale price for petroleum fuels. And we also worked on establishing our partnership ecosystem in the intake and offtake side through our customer discoveries. On the plastic side, we obtained verbal feedstock procurement agreements with local companies that will generate 10 million kilograms of plastic per year. And on the product side, 4 local city fleet managers verbally agreed to piloting on-spec alternative diesels with their buses and snow plowers. As for the timeline and plan, we are at the pre-piloting stage right now and trying to scale our process to 10 kilograms per day. Well, we have raised $150K for these efforts. And then we plan to prepare for the city fleet pilot campaign by doing extensive ASTM validations. At the meantime, we will be actively pursuing non-dilutive fundings from the SBR. And next year, we will conduct a pilot campaign with the city of Ames, our local city, while we're looking for larger fundings from potentially SBR second phase, as well as diluted funding. By the financial year of 2025, we plan to construct our pilot plant that can process 3 tons of plastic per day. Overall, our estimated expense to reach production stage is $2.5 million, and the breakdown is depicted in the graph shown on the bottom here. And at the last, we want to introduce our core team a little bit. Me serving as president right now, focused on the process ideation and team management. And Aka is our technical expertise focused on R&D and marketing. And then we have Logan, who has extensive entrepreneurship experience, and he will be focusing on business development. And that is all for my pitch today. And if you want to know more about us or get in touch with us, please shoot us an email that is listed here. And you can also visit our website, upcyclingpluscamp.com. And we will be happy to take any questions that you have right now. Thank you so much.
Sure. So my question is, once you've proven that you can scale this and you build one facility, is there any thought of potentially licensing the technology to be able to get it out there further and broader and grow the company a lot quicker? Because it's a long build cycle to get to that stage.
No, that is absolutely a like valid concern and considerations for us. We inside the team, we are thinking about, we're pretty open to different routes that can bring us faster to the market as soon as we can. But I don't think we have a decision for this right now, but we certainly like are pretty open-minded to different opportunities.
To piggyback off Jordan's question, once you do have a facility built, you have production that's coming out. In terms of your business plan or business model, what additional hurdles or commercialization validation like hurdles do you foresee to get the customers to buy your product compared to what's traditionally on the market, other than the cost components?
So sure, I think that goes to, there are two sides, I would say. First of all, like I mentioned before, how big the demand it is for this alternative fuels, and we are facing a supply, like a bottleneck there. And we entering in the market, I don't see a big challenge on the basis that we proven our technical side. But we like the hurdle side, I guess, is for them to accepting or like trying out our products. It certainly have some credibility associated with it, with our product itself. So that's the reason we have to do extensive of the pilot programs to show everyone that this is a correct product and it has a reduced carbon, like the reduced carbon reduction there.
I noticed you certainly have a non-dilutive funding strategy, but it seems like what we're seeing a lot more in the space is with offtake agreements. Like it sounds like you're working towards that venture is willing to take more risks in this space at this point in time. Have you thought about a venture strategy, in this space, and is taking dilutive capital something that you're interested
in? So I guess I can jump in there for sure. We have conversations with multiple different entities, but I think at the end of the day, what we would actually like, obviously we would like dilutive funding to come in at some point, because some of the expenses that you're talking about is essentially not covered by most of the, SBIR type of applications. But, what we could actually benefit quite a lot is from essentially something like a joint development agreement with a large chemical manufacturer or a large fuel manufacturer, because they have the expertise as well as the facilities to, undertake something as large as we are proposing to do. So on that context, like we talk to a lot of entities, think of your larger players like Shell, Dow, and also, we have like some local collaborations with like Chevron REG. But, at some point, and I think we are getting closer to that point, we are going to explore the, venture type of pathway as well.
Yeah, all of those organizations have great programs that you guys should certainly consider jumping in. We've had success with Shell Game Changer and a couple others with a lot of our companies. So,
thank you for that comment. I think I am familiar with the program.
All right. It looks like we have no more questions from the judges, so I'll go back and come back to sharing my screen. Thank you so much, Aka, Zun, and Logan, for that wonderful pitch. We'll give the judges just a few seconds to finalize their scoring before we introduce our next team. All right. Next up, let's welcome Trace DTX. Over to you, Mo and team at Trace DTX.
Yeah, let me share.
All right, Mo, we can see your screen.
Perfect. Okay, let's make sure that happens. Okay, I'm ready. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you guys joining today for this summit. Our company name is Trace TTX, and we are eradicating narcotics at the trace levels. If you're not aware of the danger of fentanyl, according to the DEA, fentanyl is involved in more deaths of Americans under 50 years of age than any cause of death. That includes heart disease, cancer, homicides, and other accidents. And there are over 4,000 different drugs that are laced with fentanyl in the US. And it's also 50 times stronger than heroin. So this is definitely a problem for our communities. Of course, there are current methods of detecting fentanyl, which can help reduce the number of deaths. However, the systems do not address some of the major challenges, which includes not being able to detect unidentified analogs. And because of it, having a high rate of false alarm due to lack of selectivity. And last but not least, they cannot detect analogs that are not in a profile database. So how do we address this? By being able to identify known and unknown analogs, we believe our device is the next step in the evolution of fentanyl detection. This device is combining a few different methods to address the challenges that I just discussed. It figured out a unique pattern that is consistently present in fentanyl at a molecular level. It's independent and does not require current data of known fentanyl profiles. This also eliminates false alarm rates due to sensitivity of the devices that are currently in the market or having only trace amounts of fentanyl present. This technology is currently at Tierra level 5. And just keep in mind, this device will have a smaller or equal footprint compared to the dimension of a standard size brick, which is a big deal for the markets we're going into. Based on our research and interviews during FedTech's time period, we have identified multiple markets for this device, specifically government agencies and private companies. We have also lined up multiple pilot partners who are standing by as we're ready to commercialize this technology. Our market shows a strong indicator for growth in the drug detection market with 17% CAGR all the way through 2029. And our research shows fentanyl makes up over 50% of the growth of this market, but we're still fine-tuning this number. You'll notice our main advantages are highlighted. If you take away anything from this page, I'd hope it's the fact that we addressed majority, if not all, of the challenges with fentanyl detection devices. We're continuously evaluating the business model. Depending on the order size, we will adjust the sales price. Key thing to note here is we have 50% margin, and we are working to incorporate recurring revenue streams based on other services we can provide. During the first phase of this journey, we focused on the market visibility and commercialization criteria, and there are more work to be done. For the next phase, we will further evaluate and finalize IP options with the lab, along with greater considerations. As we de-risk this technology, our strategy eventually leads to execution of the business plan and obtain case studies with pilot partners, and ultimately deploy the device into our identified beachhead markets. Last but not least, our team has the experience required to make Trace DTX a success story. The backgrounds consist of entrepreneurs with over 20 years of startup experience, which includes raising VC funds, private equity, and bootstrapping, successfully managing and exiting with multi-million-dollar company valuations. So join us in our journey and help us save lives and fight drug trafficking. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mo. We'll go into 5 minutes of Q&A now.
All right, I'll kick it off. I heard a number of different value propositions and different customer segments. So I was hoping you could comment on what were the most important value propositions for which segments. So for example, I heard you mention lightweight and portable, also identifying trace amounts, false alarms, and things like that. So which of those are most important to which of your potential markets? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think for all our markets, the major one is the unknown analogs of fentanyls. Currently, there's a database with over 4,000 of these profiles. However, based on our research, there's a lot more different types of cuts with fentanyl in it that are coming into the market, which these devices cannot identify because it's not in the system. What we do is our device has a learning model where it learns based on specific fingerprints that at a molecular level, which can identify any type of analogs with even just a trace amount of fentanyl. So I would say that's the value proposition or the differentiator for our device that'll help all our markets. And not to mention, you know, the other value propositions are still valid, but I think the main challenge that we saw based on our research is the unknown analogs. That's been a big deal, especially for our government agencies on a federal level.
Mo, you mentioned that your future plans were to go into CRADA with the lab. From the commercialization or business standpoint, what would be your ideal outcome of that CRADA in terms of the partnership with the lab?
Yeah, so again, this device strictly is for fentanyl. What we see, as we continue our journey, we see that we can add this type of technology to different types of molecules and drugs. For example, we have a list of drugs that we want to work on, identifying based on their unique fingerprints at a molecular level. So that's where the CRADA comes into play, because there's 4 or 5 different drugs that we have identified, like heroin, for example, or there's nitazenes and other stuff like that, where we want to incorporate those into our system. Not only that, we also want to incorporate some machine learning and AI intelligence into it, where it'll connect automatically to that 4,000 profiles and automatically save onto that database. So not just us, but other federal agents can right away get a notification saying that, hey, here's a new profile that we just found.
So, thanks. So that actually goes into my second question I had. So, it's great to see that there's other, use cases for this in terms of profiles for drugs. In the ideal sense, once it's past your L5, scalable, commercializable, how would an end user use this technology? Would it be something that is, like you buy it for your office lab or testing center and it's used, or is it more for like TSA, frontline? I'd love to understand the customer segments more.
Yeah, so we're looking at it on the front line because there's 2 types of testing. Phase 1, or the initial, is it something there? Is something there? So that's how we'll determine, do we need to send this to the lab? So we're more on the front line because that's why our device is like a handheld or brick or size of a brick. We talked about other things like a breathalyzer as well, but that's for local law enforcement agencies and stuff like that as well. But for us, the way we look at it is we're going to be at the front line, the first line of detection. And once that's verified, to legally charge someone or say, hey, this is fentanyl and this is the amount in it, we take it to the lab at that point. And this is based on some of the customer interviews that we've had.
To add on, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
We're in the early conversations with Sandia to take advantage of machine learning and create value. Just to be more specific with an example for companies like UPS, right? Like, for instance, if you think of an envelope, right, that you are analyzing and testing an envelope, what additional information you can add to beyond saying, yes, there's a presence of fentanyl, for example. So again, we're in early conversations, and to the previous question, we can frame also that project, because it's a research we're going to do with different data sets from government agencies alongside with CRADA and obviously with Sandia researchers. So there's plenty of research to be done in the AI space and machine learning.
Great, thank you, Trace DTX team. That will conclude our Q&A. And I will come back to my screen. Thank you so much. And we'll give our judges just a second to finish up their judging of this team. Before we get into our next pitch, I do want to call out that we've had over 350 participants join us here today to listen to the pitches. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And please stick around because we still have another group of pitches to go, and honestly, some great technologies to be showcased coming up, as well as a special spotlight coming up later in the program as well. So stick around. We still have plenty to cover. And with that, I am proud to introduce the Wearable Dose team. Over to John Sanwo and the Wearable Dose team to tell us more.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wearable Dose pitch. Say hello to Kevin, a brave young fighter taking on cancer with incredible strength. At Wearable Dose, we're by his side, introducing a groundbreaking method to customize Kevin's radiation therapy. Our patented solution empowers doctors to precisely administer doses, reduce side effects, and improve patient outcomes. Kids like Kevin encounter several challenges with current radiation therapy. One significant problem is patient motion during treatment, resulting in inaccurately delivered radiation doses contributing to 24% of complication rates. This treatment itself is demanding. 35 sessions, 90 minutes each, spanning 6 to 8 weeks. Five sessions a day. This regimen is tough for adults, even tougher for children. Finally, the therapy costs significantly more because these children have to go under anesthesia so that they don't move, because that can lead to complications. So what are the current options to improve radiation safety and prevent issues with motion? Anesthesia, as I mentioned, really expensive, can lead to health complications and other side effects. Imagine a child having to go under anesthesia 5 days a week for 8 weeks straight. Neither of the other two options meet the mark. Optical monitoring, which doesn't mitigate 2D smearing caused by patient motion. And this is even more concerning with kids who move around a lot. Immobilization. These are from doctors. We line the patients up to the monitor, hope they don't move, but in the end, you don't know. So what's Wearable Dose's solution? It's a patented patch that makes radiation therapy super precise. It targets cancer cells perfectly while keeping the healthy cells safe. The patch moves with the patient, stops the radiation when needed. This means less harm to the healthy tissue, fewer side effects, and reduced treatment sessions and the overall duration of treatment. That's Wearable Dose. Accurate, efficient, in providing care for Kevin and other kids like him. So how does Wearable Dose compare to the alternative? As I mentioned earlier, the main alternative for children is anesthesia. In 2022, treating kids with pediatric anesthesia cost about $2,000 per session, totaling somewhere around $50,000 for 6 weeks. However, Wearable Dose, each treatment costs about $1,000 per session, totaling $25,000. But most importantly, the treatment duration can be cut by up to 4 weeks. This means treatment is reduced by 33%. Keep that in mind, reducing the treatment time by 33%. And costs are cut by at least 50%, improving the comfort and the lives of the patient. So what's our market size? Initially, we're targeting pediatric and prostate market. The TAM is valued at $2.5 billion. We have a SAM valued at $2.13 billion, and our SOM comes in around $178 million, and we're just getting started. Keep in mind, this market is also growing at about an 8% rate year on year. So let me introduce you to the team. There's myself, the experienced technology, driving innovation, successful leadership through strategy. There's Adam, committed to compelling healthcare forward, using his legal background as well as a biotech engineer. And last but not least, Udara, CTO, who's also a biotech engineer, guided by passion for healthcare and business strategy. For our roadmap, we charted 3 paths. First, our funding pathway blends grants and private funding, taking us from pre-seed to growth. Second, the FDA pathway guides us to regulatory approval. Lastly, the get-to-market pathway leads us from proof of concept to launching in the market. So I understand your enthusiasm already to support Kevin and others battling cancer. We're excited here too. So here's what we need from you. Seed funding, initial financial support to fuel our growth and market launch. And then advisors, expert guidance to navigate challenges and make informed decisions in the biotech space, FDA regulations, and the insurance space. This will help us navigate going from market with a clear path to a successful launch and market expansion. So Kevin's story highlights how wearable dose brings hope to cancer patients by cutting treatment times, lowering costs, and offering comfort where it matters the most. Join us at Wearable Dose to improve the lives of Kevin and other cancer fighters. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to you joining us.
All right, I'll kick us off. Is this only for the pediatric use case, or is there also a case for adults?
So no, there's case for adults. Anywhere where you have really sensitive, like vital organs. As I mentioned, one of our target markets in the beginning is prostate, but I think pediatric was a way to highlight directly one of the large markets that we can affect in the initial state. And we've already also had interest from St. Jude Hospital and a few of the other pediatric hospitals.
Okay, so when you're talking about your market size, is that for the entire combined market, or was that only for a specific sub-segment of it?
Subsegment of the market. And the subsegment of the market, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just also going to ask about patient trials and where you were with regards to getting animal or in-human trials.
So we still have a prototype at this point in time, where part of the conversations that have happened is, for example, there was a conversation with St. Jude, and they're really ready to take this in. We're TRL4 right now. We're trying to get the prototype built so we can get it in the hands of the doctors.
John, I may have missed this, but curious to learn how you got the $25,000 cost for your product. Is it looking at just the savings from the traditional treatments, or is it accounting for your cost of goods for the product with the patch and sensors, etc.?
So that's accounting for the cost of the actual patch and using the patch every single time for the treatment rather than having to use anesthesia.
So with that single-use patch, right? Or idealized to be single-use patch?
Single-use patch, correct.
So just another follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of monitoring, how would the monitoring work for this? Is that a part of the development the lab is also working on, or is it something that is still to be figured out, right?
No, so that's actually one of the parts of the wearable dose patch. It also has real-time monitoring of the radiation that's going through it. So the beauty about it is today, when radiation is given, essentially what happens is the results are taken back, they're sent to another lab. It takes a couple of days to get that done. Right now, the wearable dose patch will be able to measure exactly how much radiation is going through it and how much radiation is going into the patient. And so in real time, we can tell you essentially how much radiation has actually gone to the actual particular affected areas.
In terms of safety, there could be a feedback loop where if it's misaligned, it's not hitting the right place. then the treatment can stop, and then that prevents further damage as well. So because of this real-time monitoring, it increases the safety and the efficacy of the treatment.
Yeah, as somebody who just went through this with a pet, I would encourage you to research the pet market as well. I think you could find that there's actually some applications here.
Thank you. Definitely have that on the radar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. That'll conclude our Q&A, and thanks again for the wonderful pitch from Wearable Dose.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll just give our judges a few seconds to finalize their tallies before introducing our next team. All right, please welcome me in joining Neutronics Technologies. Over to Aiden, Ryan, and Sergio from Neutronics Technologies to share more.
Thank you. There you go. All right, can folks see my screen?
We sure can, Aiden.
Great, all right, Ryan, kick it off whenever.
Hi, everyone. We're Neutronics Technologies, and today we're going to begin with a story. In this story, which actually happened, students working in a lab were doing routine tests of radioactive material when the vial containing the material was accidentally shattered. The students involved naturally panicked a little bit, made some mistakes, and tried to clean it up, scattering it on their clothes, their shoes, their notebooks, and unfortunately washing some down the drain. Now, imagine you're one of the students' classmates, their parents, or a member of the local community. What technology could their lab or supervisors use to reassure you that the radioactive threat to you, your family, and the local environment was minimal? The technology we're presenting today offers an answer to that question. But first, a little bit about our team. I am Ryan Durrill, a PhD graduate from University of Hawaii with 10 years of experience in nuclear and high energy physics.
I'm Aiden Gibbons, an economic and strategy consultant in the energy space, bringing over 5 years of business experience to the table.
I am Sergio Gonzalez, and I bring over 10 years of experience in engineering, supply chain, and project management. Additionally, we've built a strong network of support, and together, we bring the product, business, and scientific expertise to innovate in the radiation detection space.
So throughout phases 1 and 2, we performed extensive customer research and discovered an alignment between pain points folks conducting radiation detection mentioned and features that our detector has that would alleviate those pain points. So that first feature is a sensitivity to a wide range of variation. While most detectors are specialized for either gammas or neutrons, our detector does both. And even for detectors that do detect neutrons, many can't detect fast neutrons with high energies, but ours does. And the second feature that's important is while current detectors will often provide some sort of indication of a presence and quantity of radiation, they don't necessarily determine the direction of that incoming radiation or the isotope of the source, which is often very important in targeting threats. And finally, unlike many devices that can do the previous 2 tasks, ours is actually portable and connects to iOS, making it easy to use. And our customer surveys have shown that these features across the board are fairly important for a group of users in key segments. So that indicates that a demand for an all-around detector like ours that's portable and easy to use, but high quality enough to have features like dual detection, directionality, and isotope identification is in demand. And that these features make it especially useful for certain use cases such as power and security. So for instance, with nuclear power plants, where detection of neutrons and gammas are important because they're the 2 primary types of radiation emitted during nuclear fission. And both of them need to be monitored comprehensively for regulatory compliance. So our detector will allow you to do that with a single device. And Additionally, for fusion facilities, high energy neutrons are very common, and our device will be able to detect those, unlike other detectors on the market. Additionally, the isotope identification and directionality will be helpful for security applications because, for instance, for like an interrogation of an international shipment, what you can do is use our device, classify the isotope of and identify it as a threat or innocuous in real time, and then pinpoint the location of the source efficiently, as opposed to being guided by some more indirect means. And also for non-proliferation reviews, the compact nature of our device allows it to be transported via drone, which is a large value add.
The global radiation detection, monitoring, and safety market is expected to grow at over 7.7% over the next 5 years, reaching 3.6 billion in 2027. Of course, we're not going to address that entire market, but there are several exciting catalysts for growth. In particular, breakthroughs in nuclear fusion energy, which were in the news recently, compact reactor design, and medical imaging, as well as the desire for new green energy sources. We plan to offer 2 flagship products, each addressing portions of this market. First is our main product, our compressed dual detector, which is capable of detecting both neutrons and gamma radiation. It addresses the need for portable radiation safety monitoring at reactors, border crossings, and in other industries. And it's a state-of-the-art radiation detection device based off research done at universities and national labs that's already well tested. Second is a software-only package. And this is going to address the need for isotope identification and directionality, or pointing to the source of a radioactive threat. With the help of machine learning, this package will analyze data from radiation detectors in real time to identify the source and location of radioactive threats.
The most important question for any startup is what makes us different from the current option in the market today? With that in mind, we've done some deep analysis on all the existing devices, detector devices, that will be considered as a competitor to neutronics. We found that as of today, there's no device that is capable of not only detecting nuclear presence, but identifies the isotope and provides a directional vector location for the source, making neutronics device the first of its kind to be portable and capable of such functions. With a technology readiness level of 5 on our device, our 2-year plan includes as next steps, securing a licensing agreement from the lab and applying to SBIR and STTR grants to gain access to funding to advise the research and development of our detector device towards commercialization by the first quarter of 2025. Once the technology is ready, we will proceed executing our marketing plan to put our products in the hands of our customers as soon as possible. Our goal is to find a handful of alpha customers with whom we can partner for field usage of our products, get their feedback, and create user scenarios that we can then use to showcase to other prospective users. Sales channels will be split, with Neutronics managing inside sales for leads generated either online, via the conferences, or repeated customers, word of mouth, and whatnot, and partnering with sales representatives and distribution networks for outside sales to do more of the on-site visits, email marketing, cold calling, and such to generate even more further sales leads.
As for our business model, we'll primarily generate revenue through device sales, and a remainder will be through maintenance and software-only sales. And we plan to use non-dilutive grant funding that we hope to secure for mainly TRL advancement, a fixed cost, and also operating costs, which would consist of generally, marketing, repairs and maintenance, assembly, etc. So in terms of trying to create a profit, we need to really sell 150 devices to, assuming a $10,000 margin, to make back that initial investment, about 50 to 75 to meet operating costs. And we're able to do this assuming an eventual capture of about 10% of the dual detection market through device sales. So thank you so much for listening to this presentation. Really appreciate it. And please, for one, direct any questions you have to us, but please spread the word if you think you know folks who would be interested in what we're working on.
Thank you, Neutronics. Over to the judges for our 5 minutes of Q&A.
I could jump in and ask a question. So, I would love to learn more about in your stakeholder discovery process. What was the most common problems that you found? With the other, you mentioned in the table with the competitive landscape, there was a lot of issues with other technologies, but more from a consumer standpoint, how does your technology, better impact or affect with the readouts or the use cases?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we found, frankly, was just the like the actual size of the device. That was something that was mentioned a lot. I think it was, there were some folks that we discussed with who weren't necessarily as interested in some of the more advanced features that the detector had, but a lot of folks were very interested in the portability and ease of use aspect. It was interesting. We talked with certain folks that were more so kind of using the devices and certain folks that were more managing radiation control programs. And a lot of the users of the device were really focusing on ease of use, while the kind of managers were focusing on things like, cutting costs kind of, and sometimes the features that we have would be, mentioned as well, like isotope identification was definitely mentioned fairly often. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks.
In terms of existing monitoring for all these different facilities, what do you see as the replacement cycle, right? Because I think on a lot of these, you can look at the growth cycle in terms of can you capture new entrants into here? But I also think of it as at the end of the day, people already have existing monitoring in place. And so when would you actually be able to capture that? At what point in the life cycle?
Thanks for the question. A few things come to mind. Some people we're not going to be able to convince. That's definitely going to be a challenge, like as we get started. And if they're happy with what they've got, then that's the case. But for some use cases, and this relates to the previous question, for example, national security or border crossings, there might be situations where types of radiation could be shielded or obscured from the authorities. And so having a device that can see more than one type of radiation in different energy ranges or from different isotopes is very valuable. So I think pitching to them, we have a real strength there, being able to see multiple types of radiation. And the same goes for things like fusion energy. This is a little off topic, but since their reactors produce fast neutrons, it's extra helpful for them to be able to see what we can see that our competitors can't.
Yeah, so and one thing that I'll just add there is, I guess, there may be a potential customer that is, has a fleet of some radiation detectors that kind of do some of their more basic needs, but maybe they would get a few of our more advanced detectors on top of that. So it's maybe not replacing a full fleet of detectors, but replacing a smaller subsegment of them. Any more questions?
All right. I think that concludes it. Thanks so much, Neutronics team, for the wonderful pitch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. We'll give our judges just a few seconds to finalize their tallies before we introduce our next team. Wonderful. All right. Now, last but never least, it's my pleasure to introduce Small Energy, and I'll turn it over to Aigul Miksa to introduce us to Small Energy.
So my name is Aigul Miksa. I'm CEO of Samal Energy, and I would like to present our ultra-efficient heat exchangers called cool servers that are going to revolutionize data center efficiency. So picture it's a hot summer day in London, and suddenly key websites starts crashing. Panic sets in as businesses lost vital data and services. What happened? Why? Well, Google and Oracle's data centers couldn't handle the heat. Their cooling system, the heartbeat of these data centers, failed under the stress of unreasonable temperatures. In that moment, $1 million were lost and the digital pulse of the global city flatlined. This real-life event showed us how important it is to have cooling for data centers. Cooling accounts for 40% of data centers' energy consumption. And currently, data centers use more electricity than entire nations. And this massive amount of energy consumption is only going to grow. And in the US only, data center power demand is projected to double, representing 40% of global market. And this is where our solution, Cool Servers, changes the game and ensures that that event remains a story of the past. Cool Servers is more than a product. It's a cooling revolution. We redefining traditional solutions to cut down downtime by 30% and energy use by 80%. In 2027, when we're projecting to launch our sales, we're not just launching a product, we're unlocking a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Picture that in 1 year only, there's an opportunity to save $9.5 billion in energy consumption, 80 terawatt hours conserved in energy, and reduce 280 million of metric tons of CO2. With Cool Servers, we're not just changing numbers, we're shaping a sustainable future. But look at these numbers as well. The market data. The market for Cool Servers is huge and it's ready for disruption and offers significant savings and sustainable benefits. The projected total available market is about $35 billion and serviceable obtainable market in 2027 is projected to be $814 million. This market is driven by digital transformation, cloud adoption, Internet of Things, and big data analytics. But we're not the only one who see this opportunity. The competition, the existing one, like Schneider, Fujitsu, Acetec, and the rest, they're well established on the market. But they offer standard energy use that is stagnant in less decay, according to McKinsey, and traditional manufacturing technique. Whereas Cool Servers face the typical new technology challenges in a certain market adoption and production scalability. But the potential use of Cool Servers show why it could be, and it is, the game-changing solution that industry needs. Those are disrupting technology with radical improvement in energy use, up to 5-7 times less of energy use, ease of manufacturing, and ease of retrofitting to existing data centers. And we are ready to navigate the challenges ahead. So our strength lies not only in disruptive technology of the product, but also in our experienced team. Between CEO Aigul Miksa and our CTO Ricardo Jimenez, we have over 40 years of experience deploying novel technologies and the companies like Shell, NASA, Lockheed Martin. And we brought over $1 billion of USD in new revenues. But we also recognize the skills that we need to elevate our team, and we have a clear plan. We're currently looking for experienced physicists and a savvy commercial director to join our team. Okay. So our plan is to sell our cutting-edge units directly to data centers and license our technologies to major manufacturers. So our key customers and partners are customers like Google, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. Besides also cryptocurrency mining facilities that also use a lot of data centers, and private research institutes also who use their own data centers. Our revenue streams is threefold: is unit sales, annual maintenance contracts, and consulting and licensing fee. We strategically price to be competitive with a keen focus on customer service and sustainable high performance products. With our solid business model in place, we have a clear path ahead of us. Our detailed timeline is set, leading us to the launch of our sales in 2027. So this year, we're planning to finalize our licensing agreement and IP and get initial funding. Then the next year, we would like to focus on moving our product across the TRL scale, moving to TRL 7. And then in 2025, we planning to obtain funding to scale up and commercialize the tech for the market. And then in 2026, we planning to have pilot testing in Texas and California because of regulations here at the moment, the most favorable for these events. And there's also a lot of opportunities to do that with private data centers. And in 2027, this is when we planning to start our sales. Well, thank you for your attention and for listening to me in introducing our cool service. I'm ready for your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Igor. We'll kick into 5 minutes of Q&A.
Yeah, really interesting product in the space. Quick question I like to ask a lot of entrepreneurs in this space, but what are you most excited about with this technology, and what scares you the most on your pathway to market?
To me personally, what excites me the most is to have something that to do something that wasn't done before, to make something impactful. So if before, for example, we spent, let's say, X amount of energy, now we can spend 80% less. So this is to me the most exciting thing. But the most scary thing to me is to be a first-time business owner and see how it's going to navigate, how it's going to happen, and how it's going to unfold for me. I'm very excited and scared about this journey ahead of me.
Yeah, well, you're in the Houston area, correct?
Yes, correct.
So if you haven't got great partners at Greentown Labs that can help you through the first part of the entrepreneur programs. So
yes,
reach out.
Indeed. I'm fortunate with that. And I already attended a couple events in ION Center and got some connections.
All right, I know it's a little, but
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
okay, there we go. Now I'm unmuted. I know it's a little early, but can you comment on the strength of your patent portfolio and how you're going to protect yourself? You mentioned it is a crowded space, so I was glad that you commented on your competitors. But could you say a little bit more about building a moat around your company and protection against some of these major players in the space?
Yeah. So the IP right now, for example, the technology we're using from our lab is patent pending. So, and we are planning to, we have a licensing plan to go for R&D and then eventually go to exclusive licensing for this particular use case. We already started working on our commercial plan to negotiate the licensing abilities with the lab. The one thing that we also try to protect, I mean, we also would like to cooperate with our industry partners and work with with our small business advisors in IP, in the legal system. And this is one of the other skill gaps that we would like to address and help us to navigate in this area. So hope I answered your question. Yes, we are planning to. Yes, we're planning to have legal advisors to help us because it's very lucrative business and market, frankly. And yeah, when we see potential, lot of interest. Any other questions? Did I answer? Okay.
Could you speak a little more about your funding, goals or pathway? I know you mentioned the previous slide, your commercialization timeline goals. I would love to see what y'all are thinking in terms of the funding to how to get to those next stages.
Yeah, so we have okay, that's our backup slide. So here we go. Oh, okay, here we go. So our next steps. That's our by the end of this year, we're planning to secure licenses, certification, and intellectual property with help of IP legal advisors and receive initial funding. So what we're hoping to get is for applying to the programs like I-Corp, ARPA and DARPA. There's also a few challenges that we think could be very helpful for our initial funding. So what we would like to have for this initial funding to start working on our MVP, and that we already know what the characteristic we would like to have, and we already know the scope, more or less, high-level scope, technical scope of the MVP. So once we get our license agreement done, that will give us opportunity to apply for the SBR's grant proposals and start designing and start funding our mechanical design for the MVPs so that we can refine it and improve our prototype. We're going to use our design, build, test, and learn cycle to move across the TRL scale. So this is basically would be what our whole 2020 going to be busy with. So and then next step, we're going to refine prototype across based on these test results, and we're going to adjust. And then this is where we're planning. If in beginning 2024 we plan to apply, we thinking by the 2025, this is when we're going to have SBR feedback and or some other government funding feedback and funds to continue to rate the cycle and prototype development. By the beginning of 2026, this is where we're thinking that we're going to refine our technologies that will be ready or somewhat very close to the commercial launch. And this is where we're going to start our early production and find our better partners, like, for example, research institutes who have their small lab server, data center servers, so they could be interested in testing our production product. And then we're going to implement all these learnings from real world, and and start organizing the manufacturing for the first batch of our customers. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Aigul. That will conclude our time for Q&A for Small Energy, but thanks again for the wonderful pitch.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you to all the teams. I mean, what a great round of pitches we had. Thank you so much for your bravery, for your commitment, and for your hard work over the last 16 weeks to get to where you were today. And of course, a big, big thank you to our judges as well. We're so grateful you've taken the time to join us today. Judges, if you have not done so, please complete inputting your scores, and we will prepare to announce the winners after we have a brief spotlight. While we do finalize that scoring, please stick around to listen to the winners and the runner-up as they share remarks. But while we finalize scoring, we want to take a moment to highlight some incredible entrepreneurs who joined us late into the program, but are already off to a blazing start. We're so excited to support this team as it continues its commercialization journey. Over to you, Valve View team.
All right. All right, can you see my screen?
We sure can.
All right, perfect. So, oh, it took away your screen, but that's okay. So, hi, I'm Dorian. I want to introduce you to Valve View. I'm really excited to introduce our incredible team. I'm a venture capitalist and a serial entrepreneur. My focus has been in tech transfer-based innovations. Bradley is on with us today too. He's our resident cloud computing expert. His background is in supply chain management, and he's actually a FedTech alum, where he successfully launched another company. Oops, there we go. My husband Kiefer is a plumbing industry expert. He's experienced in new product development and regulatory requirements. And he's our in-house expert on installation and in-field testing. We also have Megan, who has expertise in government relations, marketing for newly commercialized products, and works with the Department of Defense in the oil and gas industry. Let's see, are we back on mine?
All control for you, Dorian.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, so when FedTech came to us, with a really interesting technology, we learned that there's a big challenge in the market. Industrial customers, namely oil and gas customers, are facing a challenge where they want to monitor their valves. Sounds simple enough, right? However, these customers have legacy, remote, or secure infrastructures. So to monitor their sensors, it requires a fair amount of manual effort. As you can imagine, that type of process is inefficient, it's expensive. And in the case of nuclear facilities, it's actually pretty dangerous, where the people going back to monitor these sensors can be exposed to radiation. And so you can imagine that they would want to limit that as much as possible. So as you can see at the bottom, there's a snapshot of just how large this market is. And so next slide. So in its current state, there are valve sensors and monitors in the market. However, I apologize to any engineers in the room, they've been over-engineered for what our customers need. And so they're expensive and they're still not meeting the needs of, the aforementioned customers. So the current solutions, they require a lot of system downtime. So if you were to go and put in one of these sensors that's on the market, you either have to drill into the valve, or you have, and in doing so, or even replacing it, you have to shut down the line. If you think about a nuclear reactor, that's pretty difficult to do. You could be leaving, hundreds of thousands of people without energy as well. And so when you drill into these valves, you're altering the valve. And in some of these valves that are on the market, there's electronic gates. Well, now you're introducing a new point of failure for the system. So it can get stuck open, it can get stuck closed. The internet goes down, it doesn't work anymore either. So there's just some challenges with it. And the sensors that are on the market right now, most of them have to be hardwired in because they're constantly monitoring. They don't have a wake sensor where they can just monitor on command. So they require being wired in. Again, wiring an entire nuclear facility to each valve is not an inexpensive or a small feat. And so it's a big challenge for these legacy customers. Finally, if you were to install the current sensors on the market, because you are altering that valve,
it requires a license, it requires certification, and in many cases, it requires reinspection and a recertification of the facility. Next slide. So with the technology that we found and have been working with, we found a really unique solution. So we've dubbed it Valve View, and it is a retrofit wireless valve position indicator. And it will help you remotely read the position of the valves. So it's easy to install. It simply clips onto the outside of the valve, and it can fit any valve type. It's completely customizable for how it attaches to the valve. It provides on-demand data and alerts. So that's the lower battery powered. You could power it by solar, those type of things. Reduce labor. Like I said, it's really easy to install, which makes it safer for your staff and, for their staff and the people monitoring. And it's customizable in its communications and how you want to connect power to it. And it doesn't interrupt any service. So it could be simply clipped on and it continues as you go. So it makes it highly scalable where you could install 1 or 100 all at once, and it would not change the operations of the facility. So next slide. And that's it. So we're moving to market in late 2023. And if you're interested in learning more from us, potentially testing some of this on your site or partnering, we're very open to that. As you can see, we've got a great technology, a great team, and we're really excited to move this forward. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Dorian and team. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Dorian, Bradley, and all your teams who've contributed to this wonderful effort. Wonderful. And I'm very excited to announce that the judges have decided. So we have our runner-up and our winner decided. And without further ado, the DOE Emerging Tech Studio 2023 Venture Summit runner-up is Upcycling Plus. Congratulations, Upcycling Plus. I hope everyone at home is giving you a big round of applause because you certainly deserve it. And today's runner-up will receive $500 worth of advisory hours from FedTech and 5 hours of legal consultation from Wilmer Hale. Thank you again, Wilmer Hale, for your generous contribution. And for our DOE Emerging Tech Studio 2023 Venture Summit winner, congratulations, Samal Energy. Yeah, good. I'm glad I see you celebrating there, Igul. Very, very, very well done. Congratulations to you. You'll be receiving $1,500 worth of advisory hours from FedTech and 10 hours of legal consultation from Wilmer Hale. And we're really excited to hand it over to our runner-ups first to just share a few words.
Well, thanks. I think we're pretty honored to have this. And I guess thanks to the FedTech, and also thanks to the whole team that we have been put a lot of efforts in running through the whole program and preparing for the slides here. Right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks to the entire FedTech team. Ryan Daly, our coach, I hope he's here today. Just thanks to all.
Absolutely. I can say on behalf of the team with confidence that it's been an absolute pleasure working with each and every one of you. So thank you both, or thank you three, and wonderful job. And now we'll kick it over to Samal Energy, Igul, to share a few words.
Thank you, FedTech. Thank you, judges, for this award. I'm really thankful, and I'm very excited to start this journey. I also would like to highlight how supportive the FedTech was in all this program, so the people like me who are never going to Prentice could get to this award and work on something cool and groundbreaking. I'm really thankful, and thank you. And I'm very happy.
Congratulations, Igul. Well deserved. Fantastic. And I just want to say congratulations again to our winning teams. Every team that took time to pitch today, you've shown such incredible effort, such incredible dedication to this process. And we honestly are so very proud of where you've ended up. And last but not least, I want to really thank the sponsors again. Your support of this effort continues to positively shape the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the endeavor to commercialize invaluable DOE lab technologies. So thank you very much. And it's actually my pleasure at this point to hand things over to Carolina Velasquez, who is a commercialization program manager for the U.S. Department of Energy, Office of Technology Transitions. And she'll take some time to congratulate the teams on their wonderful pitches.
Hello. Not sure, but I can't seem to turn on my video here, but hopefully you all can hear me. Thank you so much for all the teams who stood up here and did live pitches. I know this is kind of the first time we did it live. I think they went really, really well. So congratulations to each and every one of you for all the hard work you guys put in. And thank you to FedTech for organizing this, NSA for always being a great partner, and the judges for not only being here the whole time, but all the valuable questions and the feedback, I think really helps give the teams directions and a little, additional things to think about and consider. So thanks for all the insightful questions and comments. And to the winners, great job. And hopefully you can make good use of the advisory hours and the legal support to continue advancing your technologies. And here at OTT, we're always here to help you. So if there's anything that we can do to support, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much, Carolina. And, I speak on behalf of the whole team when I say that the folks over at OTT and NNSA are wonderful partners and, a big part of creating great stories like what we've seen today. So if you aren't interested in becoming an entrepreneur through one of our studios, please visit the link that will be shared in the chat in just a moment to apply to our general applicant pool. From there, you'll be able to specify what kind of programs you might be interested in. And who knows, you could end up in a wonderful DOE studio of choosing. And with that, we officially conclude our time. Actually, before we do that, I do want to also make some time for Jaleel Hudson, who I know is also in the group and an instrumental part of making today possible. So over to you, Jaleel.
You may be on mute.
Yep, we seem to have a bit of a technical trouble right now, but we'll get on that.
Well, on behalf of FedTech, we just think the world of all the teams here and look forward to the alumni support. And both with the winners, we are here to support you. And I definitely see lots of success happening in the future. Welcome to the Alumni Network.
Hey, Felipe, I'm able to unmute now. All right,
Awesome.
I just wanted to, yeah, a little trouble on unmuting, but understand. I want to say thank you to all the teams that pitched today. I want to say thank you to the judges for taking your time to provide that critical feedback to the teams. I want to say thank you again to FedTech. Thank you to OTT for being a partner of this. As I said, it's been a very good partnership since 2019, and I look forward to continuing this. I look forward to seeing what the teams do in the future. And so thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much, Jaleel. We look forward to continuing this wonderful partnership and launching great teams like what we've seen today. All right, and with that, we officially conclude our time today. I want to thank everybody so dearly for taking the time to join us today. If you are interested in connecting with any one of the teams that you've seen pitched today, you can find their information in the event guide, which was shared in the chat earlier. And of course, you can always email us at FedTech if there's anything that we can do to be helpful to you or your team. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And